Hi there, I'm Don.
And hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome to Pearls of Liberty for January 25th, 2014. And we have some financial articles that we want to bring to people's attention today, especially in light of the rather large drop in the stock market yesterday.
Yeah, more than 2%. It's very significant to have a day like that. It hasn't happened in a long time, and we have been having these by the all-time effing high for a long time, and it's looking like we finally might be at the edge of the precipitous drop that many have been warning of for a long time.
I believe that yesterday I read a headline that said it was the largest drop since sometime in 2011. So a little more than 300 points on the Dow, and I think it was 90.45 on the NASDAQ or something like that.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to call exact tops, and we're not doing that. In fact, this might even end up being something like a double top where it goes down and then it comes back up again, but then it comes down. But it's definitely going to go down, and it probably will not be that much longer before we have a very significant decline. And we have a positive action in metals and the kind of things that you expect to see when people are hedging their stock their stock portfolios.
And from Zero Hedge, our first article about where finances kind of are headed or might be headed in the U.S. Santelli slams central bank policies. The market is rapidly realizing that they can't go on forever.
Duh.
And we have a couple more articles here, just more kind of a general look at the U.S. economy and banking and markets. And another article here from Zero Hedge, who seemed to be one of the
He's on the top
best
of it.
sources.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
As it loads here, the title of the article is "Bank Run Fears Continue. HSBC Restricts Large Cash Withdrawals."
Yeah, echoing what we saw from Chase earlier, and of course that was only with certain accounts, and none of this stuff that happens with tyranny happens instantly. It's all gradualism, all incrementalism, because they don't want people to get spooked. But if you don't see those signs, you will get trapped, because it really is just a gradually closed cage.
And how do you find the signs? Well, here from Zero Hedge is an article, 20 Early Warning Signs We Are Approaching Global Economic Meltdown. So don't say that Zero Hedge didn't warn you. As people try to get out of cash and into metals, as Don was mentioning, that has been happening to some extent. Of course, metals are still quite low, all things considered, especially considering the value of the dollar. And there is and has long been a discrepancy between just the value of paper, what's called paper metals. If you're holding paper that says that you own metals, and actual physical metals that you have in your possession. And J.P. Morgan's Gold Vault has biggest one-day withdrawal ever, and that article's from yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It coincides directly with the drop in the stock market, so it's not hard to see what people appear to be doing. I am not so entirely sure that there is going to be an immediate transition from paper assets into physical assets. I think that many smart people have been engineering a buffer to all of this, so I don't think there's going to be a blazing panic, and I'm hoping not. But at any rate, we are expecting a drop, and have been for some time, in the U.S. dollar, and the obvious choice is to go into some hard assets, and including currencies that are also backed by hard assets.
And we have a Paul Craig Roberts article pertaining to gold. Is the Fed's ability to manipulate the price of gold running out? And this is from a few days ago, before we experienced the drop in the stock market yesterday.
Yeah, of course, many people have been talking about this for a long time. I really wouldn't necessarily think that the Fed is at the root of it. The Fed is kind of an arm of the Anglo banking establishment, the Crown, the City of London, and even then tied to the Vatican. And ultimately, they're the ones that are behind the price fixing, not just the Fed. But yeah, the Fed is a big, strong arm of it, and it will, their ability to manipulate the price of gold will eventually end. And he's saying that it's looking like it's close, and that's the way it looks to us too.
And here is an article, a companion article on all these topics from Paul Craig Roberts, How Economists and Policymakers Murdered Our Economy. Just in case you have questions about how we have arrived at this place.
Yeah, now Paul Craig Roberts is interesting because he's not really a conspiracy guy. He actually simply believes that these people just got too big for the britches, didn't know what they're doing, and made a mess of things, and that this wasn't really a deliberate takedown. Like many people, like I tend to fall into that camp, but he just sees that everything is being very badly mismanaged. So that's his viewpoint, and he makes a strong case of it. And of course, I wouldn't really argue with that. I just say that, well, maybe there's something behind that. And not for sure, can't be proven, but always makes a lot of sense, worth reading, Paul Craig Roberts.
And along with metals, some people have thought of taking refuge in currencies other than the US dollar. And interestingly enough, some of the currencies that we've heard were quite strong are the Canadian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, and the Australian dollar. But they are at this time experiencing loss of value against the US dollar.
And we're just kind of wondering if maybe that has to do with the fact that people behind the scenes have been fighting for the dollar. I know people like Karen Hudes have been trying to structure, not necessarily structure, she's a legal person, but trying to work behind the scenes to make it so that the world currency reserves in dollars don't totally tank, because that would not only hurt the United States, but that would hurt the world. There's of course talk of the dollar being separated into both inside and outside the US, that there would be an international dollar and an internal currency of the dollar that would pertain just to the country of the United States. So that will we expect that will happen, and we expect the stage is being set for something like that. But why Canadian dollar would be dropping and Australian and New Zealand, we're not too sure. But it's worth reading these articles to try to gain some clues.
And Don mentioned Karen Hudes in relation to one of the other issues just a moment ago. And there's a little bit of a controversy that's unfolding between her and the people from Veterans Today. And I'll let Don explain that.
Yeah, reading between the lines here, Karen doesn't mention him by name, but it really sounds like she's had some conflict with Gordon Duff. And he is constantly focusing on the Khazars and the people that control Israel and Rothschild Zionism as being a big world controller, and she is actually not so convinced. And Karen tends to more find that the root of the issues has to do with the Jesuits and the Vatican. And I'm more and more persuaded that Karen is on the right track. I think that maybe the Khazars and Israel and the Rothschilds are more of a side issue, and that they have had a game for a long time to try to control the Middle East via conflict and obviously bolster up the regime of Israel, but that may not really be that key in terms of world economic policy. And the Vatican Bank is obviously very, very strong, and the Jesuits have been doing international war gaming behind the scenes covertly for centuries. So I think Karen is well worth listening to, and she is, in some of these links that she has tweeted here, has copies of letters that she has sent to United States governors, etc., informing them about their financial options and what's really going on in the world. So things are definitely heating up, and she is a major, major whistleblower and well worth listening to.
And if you are friends with her on Facebook, you might check out her wall. We are not able to share what's on her wall because it is not public on Facebook, and we don't want to cross any lines there. We want to honor her if she doesn't want something to be public. But if, as I said, if you're friends with her, visit her Facebook wall, and you can read a little bit more about this. And one thing that I found interesting about this is that one of the articles that she refers to on Veterans Today was written by Stu Webb, and we certainly don't want to add to any kind of division in the liberty movement, but at the same time we want to hopefully be able to exercise discernment and identify people who are trying to lead us all into error. And I found it interesting that this week Stu Webb put something rather that I certainly don't agree with on Fritz Springmeier's Facebook wall, and I commented. I was the only person who commented, and usually if Fritz puts something up, there are 40 or 50 people who like it quite rapidly, and nobody has liked the post that Stu Webb put up. So I'm hoping that at least the people who are friends with Fritz on Facebook are kind of aware. And we have a friend who we feel has been somewhat misled by listening to a lot of Stu Webb stuff. So
yeah, when people in the liberty movement start pointing the finger at other liberty people, and Alex Jones is a common target, we really feel like they've gotten off the track. And your comrade in arms is not your enemy, and they may not be focusing on the things that are important to you, but hey, they're engaged, they're fighting the battle, and you've just got to trust that people are being drawn to fight where they're led to be. So it's all a part of giving each other autonomy, and we want to do that, and we want to help point to the people that we think make sense, because that's what our voice is, and we're trying to call people to awareness and to the battle.
And if somebody slanders, if somebody writes somewhere that some liberty person who we've all come to respect, maybe, and I'll just use Alex as an example, somebody writes something untoward about Alex's personal life or whatever, rather than immediately change our opinions, we need to learn how to vet, how to give the person an opportunity to defend themselves. Because there are a lot of people out there taking pot shots at true, genuine, noble liberty guys. And like Don said, Alex is a very common target. But it so happens this time that Stu Webb's target was Ted Gunderson, who is no longer alive and can't defend himself. But certainly what Stu Webb wrote about Ted Gunderson seems very unlikely, knowing some of the other aspects of Ted Gunderson's life that we're aware of. So just I guess, just once again, question everything, be cautious.
And don't lose confidence in your ability to seek and find the truth. That's a part of the casualty that people that are throwing mud at other liberty people are seeking to bring about is, well, stuff that you thought was true, well, they're saying it's not. So don't lose confidence in your ability to discern truth based on what someone else might say, even if they do have a prominent website.
Absolutely. Because as we know from Dutch sense, there are people who are being paid to mislead liberty people. So a prominent website sometimes is almost a flag.
And more and more,
right.
there could even be bots and people that might not even be real physical entities that are behind a lot of posts.
Yeah, absolutely. And one person who we have certainly grown to respect and just really want to highlight his blog.
Is his picture right there? Is that him? Oh, no, not that guy.
Yes, actually his picture is right there.
You mean that guy?
Him.
Oh, yeah, he's a good guy.
Mario Murillo Ministries. And Mario is being bold as a Christian.
He's the real deal.
Taking a stand against the establishment in some ways that a lot of Christian pastors are very reticent to do.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of courage. He's the real deal. He is engaging the enemy and is calling people to battle. So we highly respect Mario and want to encourage people to read his posts on his blog and fight the good fight. Yeah, this particular article, I want to say, is well worth bookmarking as a source if people have any doubts that as to Obama's anti-Christian stance. There is just extensive documentation in this particular post.
Absolutely. And with that, we thank you for joining us for this week's Pearls of Liberty, and we wish you a pleasant and peaceful and restful weekend.
As always, we remind you to see the world the way that it really is. See yourself in it. Walk your walk. You are the one you've been waiting for.